the station that's on your side. This is News 12 at 6 o'clock.
Good evening. Our top story tonight, a tragic turn of events this Labor Day. Columbia County officials say a teenager has died after a drowning at Clarks Hill Lake. For more than an hour today, Georgia DNR, the Columbia County dive team, and other agencies were there on the lake looking for this 16-year-old.
This map behind us shows points west where the calls for help started to come in. Audrey Dickerver joins us live from the lake. So, Audrey, what have you learned about this investigation?
I'm at the lake where it all happened. There were cop cars, an ambulance, fire trucks, and boats all in the water looking for the 16-year-old. The victim's name is Savon Small. Mark McKinnon with the Georgia DNR said game wardens responded to a possible drowning call around 2 p.m. near Points West. People who were at the scene say a 16-year-old boy, along with several other family members, were out in the water on a sandbar when one female started yelling for help. A person at the lake was able to pull the female and her boyfriend out of the lake and bring them to shore. But the mom of the 16-year-old was yelling that her son was still out there. Search began immediately after.
Just the fact of standing there and me being a mother of two, I can just only imagine what was going through the head of the mother that's just sitting there waiting. It was just a gut-wrenching, it's a horrible feeling.
Just before 3:30 p.m., they found Savon Small. This is obviously a very difficult time for his family.
Just not the way you want any holiday out on the lake when you're just there to have a good time.
So tragic for the family and for all those people around who watched all that unfold. Thank you for the update there, Emily.
Well, this afternoon we saw high temperatures in the lower 90s, but now things have cooled off a little bit. 89 for us here in Augusta. Feels like 91 though, but those humidity levels are low this afternoon. Definitely feels a lot more bearable out there, but it's not going to last for too long. As we head well into our work week, that's when we could see those humidity levels start to increase. But like I said, right now, in those upper 80s, some spots still the lower 90s, but nonetheless a great Labor Day in terms of those temperatures. Not seeing any rainfall across the CSRA and really even across the southeast. Clear sky conditions, and that's expected to continue into our work week, so that's some good news. Overnight tonight, we'll drop off into those middle 60s for the overnight lows. A little bit of cloud cover out there, but overall mostly clear sky conditions. We can expect our next chance of rainfall to come later on in our work week and into the weekend.
Emily Acton in the Weather Center for us. Emily, thank you. Some bad news today for the Burke County Bears. The upcoming homecoming tailgate is canceled. The principal and superintendent sending home a letter saying it was due to a number of circumstances.
As our Alyssa Lyons reports, one parent is wondering why it took them so long to let parents and alumni know about that decision.
Burke County's homecoming game is so popular that there's rarely a place to either sit or park, but this year it could look a little something like this. It's silent on the Bears front this morning, but on Facebook, the comments are loud.
Homecoming is 3 weeks away.
Burke County High School has canceled homecoming tailgating.
A lot of people are upset about the situation, but I understand there are reasons for not doing it.
For something that's been in the works for weeks on end,
it's not something that you can just do over the weekend or in a 2 week time span. That's not going to happen.
It's forcing alumni to acknowledge more than the game.
You have high-speed chases after football games, fights after games, and stuff like that. I understand the reason is for them not wanting to be liable for something happening on school grounds.
It's not the same as it once was.
So yeah, we're alumni. Yeah, we want to come together. Yeah, we want to have fun. We want to have a good time. But at the same time, you want to go home safe. And that's the biggest point that they're making right now.
It doesn't mean things can't change again.
They're saying that, okay, well, we'll just tone it down this year, dial it back, say, okay, we're not going to do this, and see can we get this under control.
Until then, he'll continue to watch his son and cheer on the Bears.
Like, I got a group of ladies, I call them the retirement club, some of my old teachers. I hang out with them before every game. I tailgate with those guys.
Donald did tell me he has a suggestion for this school. He wants it to look a little similar to what Lady does for homecoming. Move it to a Saturday, start those activities really early in the morning, and then move up that kickoff time. In Burke County, Alyssa Lyons on your side.
And Heath says he hopes the school board will listen to some of those suggestions and take it under consideration. The annual homecoming game set for September 22nd. That'll be against Statesboro. And the homecoming parade is that Thursday afternoon at 5.
The Aiken County coroner has identified the woman who was found dead on the side of the road Sunday night, but they're working to find her next of kin before releasing her name. Investigators say a witness called to report it at the Sally and Veterans Road intersection, not too far from Sally. The coroner says the autopsy has not been scheduled, but she will be autopsied in Newberry. Tomorrow marks 2 weeks since a crash near Greenbrier High School put 15-year-old Allison Lilly in the hospital in critical condition. Today, we checked in with her mother for an update on how she's doing, and she says she is still stabilized. She's in the ICU, and they are still asking for prayers. The Equine Rescue of Aiken facing a new set of challenges, from the growing number of horses needed to be saved to rising costs. More than a year ago, the rescue accepted 9 horses from Edgefield County. Those horses are back in good health, but the rescue says the owners refuse to surrender them, leaving the horses and the rescue's future in limbo. Sydney Hood joins us live in the newsroom to explain.
Yeah, like you said, those 9 horses are back in good health. They're ready for a new home, but because there's no court date set, the horses remain at Equine Rescue, putting both a financial and a space burden on the rescue because for them, there is no end in sight.
These first 2 that are the closest that have their hindquarters to us, when they came, they were both a body score of about 1. Other 2 down at the bottom, they were both at about 2.
All you could see were their hip bones and back bones. But now,
They're very happy now. They love their grass.
healthy but still without a home.
Right now, they're getting all their needs, with the exception of their emotional connection with an individual. Come on.
Hurting the horses and the individuals watching them.
And we can't do anything because we don't own them. No, we're paying for them. We've invested over $53,000 in the last year.
And that's money the rescue needs.
That's actual money out of our pocket. That's not a monthly fee or whatever. That's actual dollars, documented dollars that we've spent on these horses.
Money they'll never see again.
We're hurting. We are hurting. And if we would have had that extra $50,000, $60,000 in our bank account, that would have went a long way toward, that would have helped us now.
And the rescue has the ability to care for 70 horses property-wise. Finance-wise, they are budgeted for 40 horses this year. Currently, they have 55. And these 9 horses they can't put up for adoption are making it even harder for them to get back on track.
Is there any court date in sight for this, Sydney?
No court date in sight. They are waiting just like they've been waiting because the horses came to them in September. Ever since then, they have been waiting and waiting for the last year for a court date.
Okay, frustrating situation for that rescue. Thanks for shining the light on it. Emily?
Well, conditions have been great over the weekend and for our Labor Day, but rain could be in the forecast. I'll have your full forecast coming up after the break.
And also ahead, from unwanted to unbelievable. Next on News 12 at 6 o'clock, we show you how little love saved this abandoned pup and how you can offer it a new home.
Time and
Columbia County native Jolie Reeves has fostered more than 60 animals in the last 20 years. Her motto is never leave one behind. When her husband came across 11-month-old Pitt Riley, who was close to her deathbed, they had nowhere to put her, but they couldn't leave her on the side of the road.
And as Hallie Turner tells us in this story coming up here, thanks to a little love and some help from the community, Riley is now looking for a place to call home.
He was just standing in the middle of the road, kind of dejected, looked like she had kind of given up. We obviously couldn't leave her.
It was love at first want. Jolie Reeves isn't new to giving love.
When we first got her, she had scabs all over her face, her whole body. You couldn't pet her. If you pet her, she would start bleeding.
But when her husband found 11-month-old Pitt Riley,
He said, I know we foster dogs all the time, but this is one that's really going to she needs rescue. There were probably 3 nights in a row that we thought she won't be with us in the morning. She was that bad.
taking her back to familiar faces and places.
I met Jesse when I rescued Eliza. I was at the vet's office and had no idea how I was going to pay for the surgery she needed, and they called Jesse and brought her in, and since then I've just been fostering for her. I think I counted, I've done maybe between 75 and 100 fosters.
Best Buddies Rescue took care of Riley's bills, and Jolie's doing what she does best, shifting an animal from unwanted to unbelievable.
She's the fastest transformation ever. She's 11 months old. She obviously has had no training, no love, so she's just learning how to actually be a dog and accept love.
Riley goes anywhere Jolie does. Work, shower, even the dentist. She says the last 4 to 6 weeks are proof Riley keeps no record of wrong.
She's just a different dog. She runs around, plays in her swimming pool, plays with toys.
And that's what love does.
I think if you just look at pictures of her, you can see what love does. I mean, it has transformed this dog in 1 month. So she's just not, they're worth it.
Straight from the heart, Hallie Turner on your side.
What a transformation that is. So Riley's looking for a new home, and if you are serious about making her the next member of your family, you can go to our app, the website, wrdw.com, and start that application and interview process. A live look outside now as we shift over to weather. Our station there on I-20, a very busy place as a lot of folks come back home from a long weekend. A lot of eastbound traffic there as people come back from the beach. Not a bad day to be outside. In fact, Emily, the last few days have been stellar.
Oh, definitely agree with that. We've had lower humidity levels and temperatures are right around average, but I think on Saturday we were a few degrees below average, and even though it was only a few, I think we'll take what we can get. Today, though, this afternoon, reached those lower 90s, but now we're starting to cool off a little bit as we inch closer to sunset, which is unfortunately around 7:50 now, so we're not in those 8 p.m. sunsets anymore, but looking at the moment, we are, like I said, in those 80s. Some places still lower 90s, but look at the dew points. This is the story this week. We are really for our weekend and into our work week, I should say, but we're seeing those lower dew points, so that means lower humidity, feels a lot better outside, not as muggy conditions like we're used to seeing, so definitely thankful for that. But as we head into the week, tomorrow not looking terrible. This is for the feels like temperature, so still going to be in the lower 90s tomorrow afternoon for those feels like, but then once we get into the middle of the week, humidity levels will start to rise a little bit, and we're going to see those feels like temperatures reach those upper 90s. Then once we get into Thursday, could possibly see the triple digits, but I'm still hoping for those upper 90s again for these feels like temperatures. Cold front is expected to move through, and it's going to bring us some rainfall, but right now we're not seeing any rainfall. Like I said, a little bit of a change in pattern by the middle of the week. Then this is really the best map that I can show you. Estimated rainfall totals really going to come in Friday through Sunday, and it's not going to be a lot. We're talking probably half an inch at most. I know Waynesboro is showing over half an inch, but I'm thinking right around, again, that half an inch mark for those rainfall totals. But bringing it back to us here overnight tonight, conditions are going to be calm throughout the day. Tomorrow going to be a little bit cloudier, so that's going to help us stay in those lower 90s. I know you're seeing some green and you're thinking rain. I'm expecting this to not come to fruition and probably evaporate before it even makes it to the ground where we can feel it. So not expecting any rain, like I said, until around Friday or Saturday. So Wednesday's looking great, a little bit warmer though. Going to see those middle 90s, maybe feels like a little bit in those upper 90s. Looking at the tropics, things are calming down a little bit compared to what we saw last week, but still have a couple of areas of concern off the coast of Africa. Keeping an eye really on this red area down there. Tropical wave at the moment, not a named storm. Could become a named storm, though, over the next couple of days, so we'll definitely have to keep a close eye on that one. But like I said, that cold front moving through late Friday, going to bring some rain for our weekend, but a little bit cooler temperatures, so I think we'll take the rain.
We'll take it. All right, thanks, Emily. Before you get that PB&J, Dr. Sable children are testing positive for peanut allergies. We share their new message for parents next on Miracle Monday.
First Alert Radio.
September 13th is National Peanut Day, and we are raising awareness about children who have a peanut allergy. Children's Hospital Georgia has an allergy immunology team working to care for kids suffering from serious allergies, asthma, or recurrent infections. Zana Halliburton introduces us to a 3-year-old who's considered high risk for peanut allergy.
This is 3-year-old Powell. He has become very familiar with the Children's Hospital at an early age. Before he was even 1 year old, Powell was diagnosed with asthma and dealt with allergies and eczema. At 11 months old, his parents found out he had a peanut allergy through blood work.
We were very surprised. My family has been in the peanut industry and peanut farming agribusiness for 4 generations.
For a family that's been around peanuts for years, Powell is the first to have a peanut allergy. His mom, Wynn Almond, says it came with a lot of symptoms.
Skin reactions, swelling around the eyes, watery eyes, some asthma as well.
That's when they turned to the Children's Hospital of Georgia, where they were connected to Dr. Kathleen May, who says there's been a gradual increase in peanut allergy.
Years ago, we used to not recommend that parents introduce their children to peanuts when they're young. We have them avoid it if there was an allergic history. And now we're promoting parents to try that when they're younger, typically between 4 to 6 months of age.
Dr. May says in cases where the child is high risk, such as Powell, they would want them to get some testing first before they're exposed to peanuts.
Babies who have a history of egg allergy and babies who have a history of eczema or other allergic diseases already in their young life, those folks are higher risk. And families that have those issues, that's also maybe higher risk for those families.
For Powell, he also has an egg allergy. His mom says they have to avoid any products manufactured at a place that handles peanuts or eggs, as well as avoid a lot of baked goods. Dr. May says raising awareness about the allergy is important.
It's the most fatal food allergy. So we find that of all the fatalities from food allergy, peanut is at the top of the list. We tend to see that in teenagers and young adults.
Wynn says she's just happy there's a hospital able to give her son the care he needs.
We've just been so blessed by the hospital, from everything from surgery to the emergency room. We're just so grateful to be close to the hospital and the care that he's received here.
Reporting in Augusta, Zana Halliburton, On Your Side.
It can really be serious stuff. We all sort of take it for granted, but Dr. May says it's good to introduce babies who are not high risk to smooth peanut butter before they're 1 year old. Of course, there is a safe way to do that, and we have a video walking you through how to do it on our website, wrdw.com. There's also a link you can click to support the Children's Hospital. And if you're curious if your baby has a peanut allergy, testing can be done at an early age. About 2.5% of kids may have the allergy.
You can't be too careful. Okay, we're entering week 4 under the lights, and it's time to let us know who you'd like for the top matchup in our game of the week this coming week. So we have Evans versus Burke County, Greenbrier taking on Lakeside, and then Saluda versus Emerald. You have until Thursday at noon to cast a vote on our website, wrdw.com.
Rapidly advancing AI technology is bringing new opportunities and also new fears.
Our State House reporter Abby Kusara shares why Georgia lawmakers are making that a priority to keep tech safe.
Artificial intelligence is probably the greatest disruptor we've seen maybe in the last 100 years. It's going to impact every part of our lives.
State Senator John Albers is leading the Senate's new subcommittee on artificial intelligence to educate members of the General Assembly on what AI is and where it's going.
Enormous benefits of things such as healthcare. However, it is also the greatest risk that we currently have out there. What could be used for good, unfortunately, can also be used for evil.
The Federal Trade Commission warns they're seeing scammers using artificial intelligence to recreate the voice of a loved one.
It's I thought was my daughter, because it sounded just like her, saying, Mom, and just crying.
Debbie Moore received a frantic call from what she thought was her 22-year-old daughter, Lauren.
She's coming at me, fast and furious, just, we need the money, and crying in the background, and he scared me to death.
All you need is 3 seconds of a recording, maybe a TikTok video, or a voicemail greeting.
It's in the hand of everyone.
Emory professor Wrdw says adding protections for users is important, but so is innovation. Consulting company McKinsey & Company estimates AI could add trillions of dollars to the global economy.
So what we were able to do, say 30, 40, 50 years ago in a day, now we can probably do within an hour. With the help of AI, we can do the same thing in a minute.
We asked ChatGPT what it thought of the efforts to regulate AI. The chatbot brings up several concerns: safety, ethics, data usage, and adapting to the quickly evolving technology. And in the bot's own words, it's important to strike a balance between fostering innovation and protecting society's interests when regulating AI. Senator Albers says their committee will meet here in November. At the Georgia Capitol, I'm Abby Kasoris. Well, lower humidity levels is the main weather story, so it feels great out there. But how long is that going to last? I'll have your answer coming up after the break.
Thanks for watching News 12 on your side.
I'm Chip Lewis with Augusta Medicare Specialist. Surprisingly, there is no Medicare orientation. Let us guide you through the entire process. For a commitment-free consultation, please give us a call or visit our website. Don't wait till you're 65 to call. Are you 64.com.
Got in a car crash. CBS Evening News.
Well, one last look at your 7-day forecast, and I think it's not too bad. The first full week of September, and we are starting off in those lower 90s. Going to warm up into those middle 90s by midweek, but I mean, even through Thursday, conditions are calm, a little bit on the warmer side, but then we're going to see a cold front move through later on in the day Friday, and that could bring some showers later on in the evening, and then again possible Saturday and Sunday, but cooler air coming in our future. Again, we're going to be in those upper 80s, so not that much cooler, but I think we'll take a few degrees here or there. Overnight lows going to range from those middle 60s to lower 70s this week.
Not bad at all. We could use a little rain, but that'll come a little later. Our next live update comes at 7 o'clock over on NBC 26.
Then we're back with more news tonight at 11. We'll see you then.
See you back here this Wednesday night. Bye, everybody.
From the station that's on your side, this is News 12, NBC 26 at 11.
This was no holiday for law enforcement with a killer on the loose in Pennsylvania, but the circle may be tightening tonight for an inmate still on the run.
And from the streets of Atlanta to the shores of Savannah, we'll tell you about one last ride for these old MARTA cars.
But first this evening, developing tonight, a 16-year-old dead after Georgia DNR said he drowned at Clarks Hill Lake.
This all happening earlier this afternoon near Points West Army Resort at the lake. Nick Veland joins us from our newsroom. So, Nick, what do we know about how this happened?
Yeah, well, witnesses say a group was out at a sandbar when a woman started yelling for help. Eventually, everyone was pulled out of the water except for one. Bystanders feeling a range of emotions on Labor Day.
Which is a gut-wrenching, it's a horrible feeling.
On a not-so-typical Labor Day for this bystander.
On Labor Day that we normally come up, bring the grandkids out to play at the beach area. As soon as we pulled up, we saw the rescue fire trucks and the rescue squad.
As emergency crews moved in, family watching and waiting.
Everybody was standing together, just trying to give support.
As rescue teams searched the water for a 16-year-old boy. The Department of Natural Resources say his mom was yelling for help for him.
And me being a mother of two, I can just only imagine what was going through the head of the mother that's just sitting there waiting.
This person says within 10 minutes, crews found his body.
Which was not far from where he went under. But it's very sad. Just imagine having to go back home without your kid.
Leaving those who witnessed it, saying extra prayers tonight.
Yeah, it kind of killed my vibe, I'm still thinking about the family in my heart. And my prayers just go out to the mom and the family. And I'm praying that the daughter that they did rescue, that she's okay.
And once all emergency personnel left the scene was very calm, and Points West was eerily quiet. DNR wants to remind everyone that the lake can drop off unexpectedly, so always wear a life jacket.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Just not the end to Labor Day weekend at the lake. Everybody wanted.
Tragic day there.
Well, taking a look at the weather conditions this evening, or really I should say overnight hours, we're sitting right around 70 right now in Augusta, and that's the same story for most of the CSRA this evening. We'll cool off into those middle 60s overnight tonight, but like I said, still in at those lower 70s right now. Dew point starting to rise a little bit, but that's typical for the overnight hours. We typically see higher humidity levels, like I said, overnight, but not expecting that to last too long. By the time we head out the door tomorrow, conditions are going to continue to be clear, and throughout the day, not expecting any rainfall and lower humidity levels. So definitely looking forward to that. But to kick off your Tuesday, maybe the start of your work week, we're going to be in those lower 60s, but the heat is coming back and so are those humidity levels.
Emily, thanks a lot. Nearly 24 people injured after a driver slams right into a Denny's restaurant in Rosenberg, Texas on this holiday. Happened this morning around 10:30 our time. Police there say 23 people ranging from 12 to 60 years old suffering from injuries from minor to severe. The driver, who police say is a 30-year-old male, was not hurt. They're still investigating what led up to that crash.
5 people are dead, 3 others hurt after a multi-vehicle crash near Atlanta early this morning. Police say it appears one of the vehicles went flying over the wall of a state road overpass and fell about 50 feet onto an I-85 exit lane. Police will not confirm if all the deceased were in one vehicle, and there hasn't been any information released yet about those victims.
We're learning about additional charges against a man for the death of his 2-year-old son. Last month, Artavius North told police his child Josiah Mitchell was kidnapped during an armed robbery, but Atlanta police say North's story did not add up, and he was arrested the next day. They found Josiah's body a week after he was reported missing in a trash transfer center. Warrants obtained by police show they're preparing to charge North with murder, felony murder, cruelty to children, and concealing a death.
The search continues for a mother and her 2-year-old son out of Beaufort tonight, 2 months after they were first reported missing.
Sophia Van Dam and her son Mateo were last seen in June. Ashley Jones has the latest on that mystery.
But they told me just a little bit that they don't know one way or the other which way this thing's going to go.
Words from Sophia Van Dam's mother and Mateo's grandmother almost a month into the two's disappearance. Now, more than 2 months later, she says she hasn't given up hope.
I'm still praying, I'm still hoping.
And still searching for answers. Teresa Van Dam says her daughter Sophia called home just days before her and her son disappeared. According to her mother, there had been a fight between Sophia and her boyfriend that lived with her in her Sumter home.
She said that she just wanted to come home. She was very upset and cried.
WIS found through a Freedom of Information Act request that the Sumter Police Department responded to a domestic call made from the Sumter home on June 4th. Van Dam says after her daughter called home, she spent the next few weeks with her son in Beaufort at their family home and had plans to move back there. Then on the morning of June 22nd, Teresa Van Dam returned home to find all of Sophia and Mateo's belongings gone. The last time she spoke with her daughter was June 24th via text.
Saying crazy things. She must have been having, because of the stressors of trying to make a decision on what she needed to do, and I don't know if somebody gave her something, but she was saying, sort of talking out of her mind.
Investigators with the Sumter Police Department say following several welfare calls to the home, officers found Van Dam's car parked outside of her Sumter home on June 26th. When they went to knock on the door, no one answered. According to an FBI spokesperson, the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office, along with the Sumter Police Department, SLED, and the FBI were in Beaufort in multiple locations on Friday, actively looking for leads in the case.
And so far, the FBI is not commenting. We're going to ask for an update on that search.
Richland County deputies in the hospital after a man crashed head-on into her vehicle during a chase. This happened yesterday in Columbia as deputies were responding to a domestic situation. Authorities say the suspect was already out on bond for murder charges and intentionally crashed into a deputy's car while trying to escape. No word yet on the extent of the deputy's injuries, but the suspect's facing nearly a dozen new charges and is back in jail this evening.
The equine rescue of Aiken facing some growing challenges.
It's the biggest problem facing Georgia's growing economy, a truck driver shortage, driving up prices and causing product shortages in our stores.
Our Capitol reporter Abby Casares breaks down what can be done to give you and your family some relief.
The majority of what you buy gets to you thanks to one of these.
Everybody wants everything when they want it, and it all comes on a truck. So
Lewis Collin with Taylor Trucking says he's having a hard time finding drivers. Not enough people want to work in the field. The state estimates we need another 25,000 workers to fill vacancies, and that number will only increase with Georgia's growing economy. The shortage blamed for this: shipping containers stuck at the port of Savannah waiting for someone to pick them up. And these containers are things people need, says Nikolai Olsechki.
If things progress as they are, we're going to have more delays. Prices are going to be higher.
Insurance Commissioner John King blames the shortage on Georgia's direct action law, making drivers a bigger target for lawsuits even when a driver may not be at fault.
There is no trucking industry in Georgia if we can't find affordable insurance.
It's driving up premiums, making it hard for trucking companies to stay in business. Georgia has the highest premiums in the Southeast.
Drivers and state lawmakers holding meetings before the next legislative session to try to come up with some solutions like increasing funding for recruiting drivers, lowering requirements for licensing and insurance. Emily.
Well, summer conditions will return come midweek and some possible rainfall by this weekend. I'll have your full forecast coming up after the break.
Plus, a community on high alert as authorities search for an escaped inmate. The latest on the search coming up.
Augusta.com. Audi Augusta, part of the Gerald Jones family.
Heavy rain in New Orleans leading to flooded streets. Some people even having to use boats to get around, but some parts of the city saw upwards of 6 inches of rain in just a couple of hours. The city continues to pump out the excess water, but no injuries reported. But at least one woman did have to be rescued after getting stranded in a flooded car.
Well, that definitely will cause some issues there. Lots of flooding. Hopefully those people have insurance and are prepared for that. It is Louisiana, so again, hopefully they were ready for that. We're not going to see any rainfall for our work week at least, but could see some return later on into our weekend. But summer conditions will return. I know we've had some cooler air, maybe not cooler temperatures, but at least those humidity levels, there we go, a little bit lower for the weekend and into the start of our work week. And like I said, that's going to continue into the day tomorrow, so better conditions, more comfortable out there to start off our work week. But as we head into the overnight hours, sitting right around 70 on average, currently 70 in Augusta, Waynesboro sitting at 73, Gibson 71. We're going to cool off a few more degrees overnight tonight, and to start off our morning tomorrow, going to be in those lower 60s to middle 60s, but this is the heat index that we can expect. Again, Tuesday, tomorrow, not looking too crazy in terms of those feels like temperatures, but once we get into Wednesday, that's when we can expect those upper 90s, possibly those triple digits, but really looking like those upper 90s, and the same can be said for Thursday. So again, that's when the humidity is kind of coming back into play, Wednesday and Thursday, but rain chances will move in come Friday. But taking a look, like I said, rain chances really not going to be in the picture over the next several days. I know that this map behind me is showing a little bit of green, but overall we're going to be dry, like I said, warming up into those 90s for our Tuesday and Wednesday. Overnight lows going to be pretty consistent in those lower and middle 60s, but like I said, those rainfall totals will start to increase as we head into our weekend. Here's a map timed out until Sunday, so right around 1/10 of an inch throughout really Friday through Sunday. So some much needed rainfall after a quiet week for us, but might not stay quiet for too long. I hesitate to say that. We have several days away to see if this system just off the coast of Africa actually decides to form. Looking likely, though, and we'll definitely have to keep track of that. Again, this red area down here, gonna have to see where that goes and if it actually does form, which, like I said, is likely, but could bring some rainfall to us long term, probably 7 or so days away if that does come to fruition. But looking at the next 7 days, not too bad. We have that cold front moving through Friday, so Saturday and Sunday, a couple of degrees cooler, but with that, going to bring some rain possible. But I don't think anything too bad that we can't handle, especially after what we saw last week.
Yeah, we'll need the rain by the weekend with all those dry days. Emily, thanks. Police in Pennsylvania believe they're closing in on that convicted killer who escaped from prison last week. There were multiple sightings of Daniello Cavalcante over the weekend.
And people in the area are being urged to lock their doors, stay alert. Here's CBS's Marcela Baeta with the latest.
Danilo Cavalcante was spotted on a residential surveillance camera this weekend, less than 2 miles from where he escaped.
We are doing everything in our power to get this guy. I mean, people are working round the clock. I understand their fears.
Police are blaring a recorded message from Cavalcante's mother through this helicopter and car speakers, urging him to surrender. They have narrowed their search to a residential area that's deep in the woods, closing off roads to limit access in or out. Police say they have responded to well over 100 tips from neighbors in the area. Since his escape from the Chester County Prison on Thursday morning, Cavalcante has been spotted 4 times in this area outside of Philadelphia.
The fact that this guy is still out there after all this time, it's insane.
Lance Lehman came back from his holiday weekend trip early after seeing that surveillance video.
We want to make sure everything's clear, nothing's going on. He's not hiding in our structure.
Cavalcante is serving a life sentence without parole after he was found guilty of killing his ex-girlfriend in front of her 2 small children.
We want it to be over. It's been a really scary couple of days here in the community.
How he managed to leave the prison is still under investigation, but this is the second escape there since May.
It's not easy terrain to get across. It's perfect hiding grounds for the ultimate game of hide and go seek.
Now authorities are working to confirm whether Cavalcante is connected to several home burglaries that have happened in the area.
Closer to home, another Georgia football staffer facing charges for reckless driving and speeding. Jarvis Jones arrested Friday, bonding out a short time later in Athens. The 33-year-old was a star outside linebacker himself for the Bulldogs from 2009 through 2012. At least 13 other Georgia players either arrested or ticketed for speeding and reckless driving since that deadly crash involving a UGA player and staffer back in January.
Labor Day today marks the end of the 100 deadliest days of summer. That's the period between Memorial Day and Labor Day. The South Carolina Department of Public Safety says this is where we typically see an increase in those deadly crashes. It's in part because there are more teen drivers on the road since they're not in school.
Well, a muddy mess over the weekend, trapping thousands in the desert at a popular outdoor event, but there's finally light at the end of the tunnel. We'll head west for that story.
And as we head to break, here's a live look over the Chicago skyline and your winning lottery numbers.
Investigate TV is here.
We're always open at topdoctorofaugusta.com.
Augusta's best luxury dealer, Jim Hudson, now brings you the best GM brand Cadillac. The best of the best, now open. Jim Hudson Cadillac on Washington Road. You won't find Cadillac anywhere else around, only at Jim Hudson in Augusta. Get the area's best customer experience and Cadillac service. Now you can service your Cadillac with the only authorized Cadillac dealer. Now open. Jim Hudson Cadillac on Washington Road.
Experience it once and you'll never forget it.
At Batteries Plus, we bring power to your life. Extreme heat is tough on your car battery. If you're not sure how much life is left in your car or truck battery, visit us for a free battery test today.
Sometimes it takes more than a day to get to the truth.
The I-Team spent weeks combing through the case.
To uncover what others want to keep hidden.
Are children suffering because of this?
Yes, they are.
True investigative reporting takes time and resources.
For more than a decade now, we've been asking questions.
The News 12 I-Team, getting results, making a difference.
It actually took a news reporter to get them here.
Thank you for trusting us with your stories. News 12, on your side.
When it's time for a new bath for Augusta.com.
People attending this year's Burning Man Festival are now finally leaving that venue in large numbers after being trapped in Nevada's remote Black Desert for most of the weekend.
Sounds pretty miserable out there. Thousands stranded after heavy rain left that desert, just too muddy to drive in. Dina Demetrius has the latest.
What a long, strange trip it's been. Finally, on Monday, the Burning Man Exodus officially got underway on the only road out of the annual Counterculture Festival.
We just spent 4 hours in line to get out, and the people are in line now, getting in line now, might spend 12 hours.
After 2 months' worth of rain fell on Friday, Burning Man officials warned festival goers to shelter in place, not to try to make the more than 5-mile trek out. The mud was so thick in the remote part of the northern Nevada desert that even large vehicles couldn't move, and those who chose to walk barefoot risked chemical burns because the mud is alkaline. The cement-like sludge stranded more than 70,000 people and forced them to shelter in place and conserve food and water. Some people walked miles through ankle-deep muck to make their exit, including DJ Diplo and comedian Chris Rock, who hiked out, then caught a ride. But many waited and waited.
For me and my husband, this is an escape from the hard things, and this is
kind of hard.
For some, it was all part of the Burning Man experience.
This is the best burn ever, and I'm having the best time.
Burning Man attracts tens of thousands of artists, musicians, and activists for a mix of wilderness camping and performances. This year, Mother Nature also took the spotlight. Dina Demetrius, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And the torching of that large wooden effigy, the Burning Man himself, that festival is named after, was actually postponed too because of the rain, but it is set to take place shortly. They're finally going to get to torch the Burning Man.
Wild. The first over-the-counter opioid overdose medications is expected to hit shelves this week. The maker of Narcan says that medicine will have a suggested retail price of $45 a carton. Each will have 2 doses of the life-saving spray, and you'll be able to buy it at Walgreens, Walmart, and CVS. The FDA approved Narcan as an over-the-counter medicine back in March.
Should be in every home and every car.
Yeah, you just never know, unfortunately now.
Well, if you or someone you know is looking for a job, AU is going to be hosting career fairs tomorrow afternoon from 2 until 4. That'll be at the Goodwill Job Connect off Peach Orchard Road. They do have openings in administrative, groundskeeping, nursing, and more.
The 2024 presidential campaign is about to heat up. Just after this, we'll explain why young voters are expected to hold some serious choosing power this go around.
First Alert Radar, powered by Jim Hudson Lexus Acura Cadillac.
This presidential election campaign is about to kick up a notch. Labor Day marks the unofficial start of the campaign season. Presidential candidates making stops at Labor Day barbecues and parades all across the country today. And President Biden spent this holiday with union workers.
Folks, in this Labor Day, let me tell you what we're celebrating. We're celebrating jobs, good-paying jobs, jobs you can raise a family on, union jobs.
But many of these union jobs face a bit of a rocky future. An auto worker strike could be less than 2 weeks away without a new contract. The ongoing Hollywood strikes have networks preparing for a new season of television without the actors and writers on the picket lines. And American Airlines workers have voted to strike if they don't get a new contract, but they won't be allowed to walk off the job without support from a federal mediator. The president and Congress can also block airline attendants from going on strike.
How does that work? How are you you must come to work?
There's certain, I remember air traffic controllers back in the day. They went on strike, and Reagan fired them all. But it's rough right now. Everybody's threatening strike.
Crazy. Okay, with these growing hot-button topics, all eyes are also on Gen Z and their growing power at the ballot box.
Annie Anderson breaks down what's led to the increase in young voters heading to the polls.
It's something red and blue both agree on.
The future of our nation depends on the courage and devotion of its young people.
And the young people in this country hold the future of the nation.
And the young people are listening. Tufts University found that in the 2022 election, 23% of eligible young people voted. In 2016, Gen Z's first election, 27.7 million young voters came out. That's a 50% voter turnout for people 19 to 29. Clarissa Unger with Students Learn, Students Vote says a lot of the energy comes from the issues facing young people.
Young people are really passionate about reproductive rights, about gun control and gun policies, about climate change, about affordable education.
Those platforms generally turn into votes for Democrats, according to analysis from Tufts University. In 2020, 61% of youth voted for Joe Biden, but that doesn't mean Republicans don't also get young voters. Tufts University found that when it comes to young rural voters, Republicans have the edge. In the 2022 election, 64% of them voted for a Republican House candidate and just 33% for a Democrat. That's why both parties are clamoring for young voters and working with schools to get them ready for the polls.
There's also a lot of colleges and universities who are really making an intentional effort to educate people about the voting process.
Kai Kawashima Ginsburg with Tufts University says there's one area that needs work: engaging the youngest voters.
When we look at the smaller slice of 18 to 19-year-olds, we actually saw smaller number of young people registering by November midterm year compared to 2018.
Gen Z activist Zoe Williamson says that will be a priority for her this cycle.
They're first-time voters, and they don't have this habit built in. They don't have the background knowledge about why you need to register to vote in order to cast your ballot.
With less than a year until the primary start, she's already working on getting young people ready for the polls.
And your vote, of course, matters. Just a great example of that coming out of Aiken last month when the mayor's race came down to less than 20 votes, forcing that runoff.
You never know when showing up is really going to make a huge difference.
Huge difference, yeah.
Well, our weekend weather conditions will continue into the start of our work week, so things are looking up. Could see some rain chances, though, in the future. I'll have one final look at your forecast coming up after the break.
Time and temp.com.
It'll be one last trip across the state for these MARTA rail cars you see here. Some of MARTA's older train cars heading to the Georgia coast to develop reef habitats for marine wildlife.
It's part of the artificial reef program started decades ago in the U.S. The workers have spent weeks cleaning and stripping hazardous materials from inside the rail cars. 2 that are ready for the ocean will be transported from MARTA's South Yard this Thursday.
It's interesting for divers, too, to go down there and see the old MARTA cars that used to run around Atlanta.
Yeah,
that's a pretty cool way to recycle those things there. Yeah, that's pretty cool. We'll have to check that out. I'm excited to see some pictures of that. Again, those divers there. I want to take one final look, though, at your forecast. We're starting off our work week on average. I was going to say the cooler side. It's really not. We're about average for the start of our work week, but warming up by Thursday, going to be in those middle and upper 90s. Then a cold front's expected to move through, but along with that, going to see some rainfall. And again, that could last into our weekend. Not anything, a total washout. We're not expecting anything like that, but just know a small chance of showers really Friday through Sunday. But Monday, things are looking good for the start of our week. Next week, if you're already looking that far ahead.
Looks like our first fall ends on Wednesday and Thursday.
Fall. We're ready for second summer anytime.
We are ready. Okay, that's going to wrap things up for News 12 at 11.
We'll see you tomorrow.